Hi everyone, and welcome to part 2 of this tutorial. So in this video I'm just going to be working on the head kind of area around the eyes, so this kind of top section here. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. I'm going to zoom you in a bit so that you can see better what I'm working on. Right, what I was doing at the end of the last part, because then my camera died and I couldn't continue, so what I was doing is just adding in small strokes over this dark section of the face, just to add in the fur direction and little fur strokes using this dark brown, which is shade 176. In the description below I will link the set that I'm using, the Bulldog Pastel set that I'm using, but I won't link every pencil individually, but they are all from the Bulldog Pastel Pit Pastels. I've got the full set, which I think is like 72 or something, I'm not too sure, but yeah, I'll link it in the description below. And I'm leaving this bit quite blank at the moment, which is the, there's like this orangey eyebrow kind of bits above the eyes, so I'm leaving that bit blank at the moment. I've made sure I've got quite a sharp pencil, just so that it leaves, doorbell, okay, sorry about that, just had a parcel arrive. I bought off Vinted a belt because my other belt broke, and I found a nice one on Vinted, so that was what that was. Oops. Yeah, I'm kind of trying to do really small short strokes, because this dog has short fur, so you don't want to be doing really long strokes because it may look like the dog has got long fur if you do that. And try and do a couple of them in, like, keep them in the same general direction, but do a couple that are kind of slightly less, like, so instead of doing them all like that, for example, you want to do some like slightly at angles. I don't know if you can tell from what I was just doing there, but you don't want them all to be exactly straight. It'll just look a bit flat and a bit unrealistic. I'm just going to keep doing this pretty much over the whole of this dark area, and then eventually I will add in a few like white or really light grey, because you can see here there's some pale bits, so yeah, some like paler strands, so I will be adding in some white or maybe some kind of light grey in those areas on top as well, to show those bits of fur. And that's where with pastels you can use the light on top of dark, so you can do that, whereas if I was using coloured pencils you'd have to leave those bits more blank, which I'm not a huge fan of doing. I find it doesn't come naturally to me to work like that. I like being able to add the light fur strokes on top to kind of bring the fur to life after adding the dark colours. I don't know, that's just how it comes more naturally to work that way, really. For some reason, I actually find brown is the hardest fur colour for me to draw, and I don't know why. I think it's because there can be so many different tones of brown, whereas I guess black is black but with hints of like blues and things like that in it. But brown is, there's just so many different kinds of brown, and brown you could easily make look really muddy. So it's kind of, it's difficult. It's a really difficult fur colour to get correct, I think. Especially is because with pastel pencils, as I said in the last video, there's not a huge amount of dark browns, not in the sets that I've got anyway. There's dark browns, but there's not dark browns, if you know what I mean. So I end up having to usually add in some grey or even some black or something to darken the brown up, which isn't really ideal. I'd prefer to have some darker browns, but there just doesn't seem to be any in sets that I can find. So, I don't know, if you ever come across a really dark brown pastel pencil, please let me know, because yeah, that's definitely one thing I wish that I could find. Right, so that's most of the brown there, and I'm just gonna blend it out very slightly with a blending stump, not very much, just very, very slight. And then, as I said, to darken up a couple of the even darker areas, I think I'm gonna go in with this grey, which is a dark grey, and it's in the shade 175. So I think I'm going to go in with that just to darken up a couple of the areas. So particularly around the eye here. I'm not going to go crazy because I don't want to end up making it look a bit muddy or anything. But I just feel like it needs darkening up a little bit. And around kind of this middle bit here, just above the nose. It just needs to be a little bit darker, so I'm just going to darken up with this grey for a little bit, and just around some of the other dark areas, so around the other eye as well, and around here, kind of that bit. Just don't want to add too much because I don't want to make it look muddy, which is what can happen with grey. When you use grey on brown and stuff, it can look a little bit dirty. I feel like on the camera for some reason it looks a lot more red than it is in real life. I'm not sure why that is. I might have to edit the video and just tweak the colours a little bit to make it look more how it actually does. I'm gonna add in now some of this kind of really light grey, I think, which is shade 270. I'm gonna add in some of the tiniest little grey strokes. Or maybe not grey, I don't know. Let me have a think. I might actually try instead this soft Bulldog Pastel soft pencil. Yeah, that'd be better because I think that'll give a more softer kind of appearance because it's less pigmented than the normal white. So I think I might use that instead actually. And yeah, you can see on the reference photo there are these lighter patches here. So I'm just going to kind of mimic that with this white and just add in a few very tiny strokes with a sharp white pencil over the top of the browns that I've already done, just to create that kind of lightness. There, so that's kind of added a bit of, it looks a bit more three-dimensional now. It's like starting to look a little bit more put together. So yeah, I'm just going to add in some of this, and then after I've done this I'm going to move on to the next section. But that's not to say this section's completely done. I may make some changes as I go, but that's kind of how I work. I kind of do finish a section and then I move on to the next, but I may come back to the other previous sections if I feel like I need to like deepen it up or add another shade of, I don't know, add a certain shade of colour, or just if something needs adjusting basically, which I do sometimes find that I spot after I've added some of the other sections in, because then you can compare it. And yeah, it just kind of comes together more so you can notice if things aren't quite right. So I'm going to leave that like that for now, and I'm going to start moving on to some of the other bits. I think I might do the two like eyebrow parts. So it's quite orangey, but I feel like I want to do a more creamy base and then add the kind of orange tones on top. So I'm going to use this cream colour, shade 103, and I'm going to just lightly do that over the eyebrow kind of areas. Don't know if they actually are supposed to be eyebrows, but I'm going to call them eyebrows because they look like eyebrows to me. And this is just the base, like we did with the brown. I did like a base base colour to start, which just makes it a lot easier to build the colours up. And then the same on this one. Okay, then I'm going to use a blending stump which is completely clean, just because these bit here is so pale, I don't want to put any other colour onto it. Just blend that base out. Okay, and then I'm going to find a colour which is like quite orangey, but like pale orange. This is quite a dark orange, which I think is going to be too dark. There isn't really a pale orange in this set, which is annoying. So I think for the orange I might have to dip into one of my other sets. I think this one might be a bit better. Still quite dark, but it might be better than the other one, because the other one's quite a bright orange. So this is part of the Stabilo Carbothello pastel pencil range, and this one you can't really see because of the reflection, but it's colour 680. So I'm going to sharpen this one up and give this one a go. So I've kind of got it to a little bit of a point. Not the best, but yeah, and I don't have a backup of this, so this is all I've got to work with, which is a bit annoying. But yeah, that colour I think is probably the most accurate, because it's quite a soft orange, whereas the other ones were quite a bright orange. So I think I'm going to have to make do with what I've got here. I'm gonna blend that out. And then I think I will use some of that darker orange on top to pick out some of the darker kind of orange tones. This one's just a very soft, so it's good to kind of add to the base. But I can't get in fine details with this really, so I'm going to use the Faber-Castell. Yep, that works quite well as like a base orange, so yeah, I'm going to go next with the Faber-Castell one, which is shade 187. And I'm going to press very lightly with this, because it is quite, if I pressed like hard, it's quite a bright orange, so I don't want it to look like that. So I'm just going to press very, very lightly with this. And it's mostly darker around the edges of the eyebrow, so, and then it's like lighter in the middle. So I'm going around mostly the edges, darkening it up a little bit. And same with the other one, it's quite orange in this little section here down the bottom. Okay, and then I'm going to go back in with this brown on 7-6. I'm just going to add in a little bit of brown onto the bit of the eyebrow just to blend the bits together so it doesn't kind of look like it's been stuck on. You kind of want it to... That bit won't come off. Come on. Yeah, you kind of want to make it blend in a little bit. Doorbell just went again, another parcel. That was my business cards this time, because I'd ordered like my business cards in bulk again, so I nearly ran out. And I'm also going to add in a bit of that white again, the soft white. Let me just find it. I've got so many pencils out here. Yeah, the soft white again. I'm just going to add a bit of it to the brow, because there are a couple bits which look lighter than the other bits. I'm just adding that into it as well. And a bit more orange as I see fit as well, so I'm just kind of adding a little bit here and there until I'm happy with how it looks. I'll leave that one for now. And then adding some brown strokes onto the other one. And then white again, and there will be some white around this bit because the fur gets a lot lighter at the top here, so we'll be using a lot more of the white the further on that we get. Just adding a few little highlighted bits here because it's not all the same shade. So that's that for now. What to do next? I might potentially start doing these bits underneath the eye. I'm not too sure. Actually, no. I'm going to continue upwards first and then we'll work downwards afterwards. So, next, around the top of the head, there's these folds and there's like a dark brown bit around each of these folds. So I'm going to map that out with the brown that I've been using throughout this, which is the 176. And I'm just going to add in light brown strokes like this, where those dark areas are, just to kind of map it out for now. And when doing these strokes here, I'm just pressing really, really lightly again as well. And this, if you wonder what it is, it's some glassine paper. I will link this in the description below as well. I buy it in like massive A3 sheets. Not A3, A2 sheets, sorry. And then I cut them down into just little pieces. It's good to like rest your hand on when you're drawing so that you don't get smudges on your hands and you don't get the oils from your hands onto the paper and things like that. It just really helps. So I definitely recommend to get some. And it's not very expensive either. It's really cheap. Because I get a massive pack of them for literally like £12 or something. I'm not sure, but it's about that kind of price for a massive pack. So yeah, I will link that in the description below because I definitely recommend that for drawing. Even if you're using coloured pencils or graphite or anything, it's handy just to kind of rest your hand on it so you don't smudge anything, or yeah, so you don't ruin the paper that you're working on. Probably going to work on this for probably another 45 minutes or so, and then I will conclude the part. So wherever I get up to on that, just so that the video is not super long. So I don't know how many parts this will be for the whole thing. It will probably be quite a long video, well, quite a lot of long videos, but yeah, hopefully some of you find this helpful. I'm nearly done mapping out these top bits, the dark bits around the folds. Just always find it helpful to kind of map out darker areas before I go in with anything else. It kind of just gives me guidelines really, so I know roughly where the colours go and stuff. That's those top folds there mapped out, and then I think I'm going to use quite a lot of this soft white actually. So at the top here, I'm just going to do this top bit. It is very white, the colour at the top. Like I'm guessing it's where the sun's reflecting on the fur and stuff, so all of the colour is concentrated on the centre of the face. And then after I've done the white bits around the edges, I'm going to blend it, and it should blend the brown and the white together a little bit, and then I'll add another layer of each. You'll see when I go and do that. And if I want the white to be a bit more bold later on, I can go on with the medium white rather than the soft white, which will kind of make the white a little bit more intense. But because this dog's fur is very soft and blended, there's not like harsh white, so I'm kind of just using the soft white, I think, for now. I mean, all the bits that I'm putting white on, they're not going to be completely white at the end. I'm going to add in some more colours to like blend it together and stuff, but for now I'm just sort of adding the white, and then I can kind of add layers and blend later. So that's nearly there. I'm just going to add the white at the top of this bit here, and then I can move on to the next step. I'm gonna leave it kind of there. So I'm gonna maybe find a lighter brown. These ones look lighter here, but then that looks really dark. So I think I'm gonna go for this one, which is shade 179. It just needs sharpening, so I'm just gonna sharpen that up. There we go. Finally, I had just had to sharpen this for ages because I think my sharpener needs a new blade. I think that's the issue. So I'm just going to add, because this is a lighter brown, I'm just going to softly add in some more first strokes, so to blend in the white to the brown, because otherwise it is very harsh. First of all, I'm just actually going to use this blending stump just to blend it first, and then I'm going to do that, I think, just to make it even softer. There we go. And then, yeah, using this brown, just do some tiny little first strokes to blend the white and the brown together. Again, when I'm doing all this, I'm using very, very light hand as well, so that I don't add like any harsh marks. Just want to make sure that within all the white there is some brown, just so that it's not so white, because it's not supposed to be white, it's supposed to be where the sun or whatever is reflecting onto the fern. It's making it appear a lot lighter. So that's why I kind of want to blend the two colours together really seamlessly. And if you make a little mistake like I have here, I've just done this brown line up here, which I wasn't supposed to do. So I'm just going to use this kneaded eraser and just dab that away. And these first strands at the top here, you can't even see the individual strands, it's very kind of blurred out. So I'm just kind of doing the tiniest little back and forth motions to add the fur rather than actual strokes, so that it's less harsh and more soft. And then here again you can see some of the strokes a little bit better again, where it's a bit closer to the camera. It's because with the way this picture has been taken, there's like around the edge is all kind of a little bit blurred, and then in the centre of the drawing, or the centre of the animal is where it's all in focus. So it's sort of a little bit more soft around the edges. I'm going to add a little bit more of darker brown as well after this, just to deepen up those folds a little bit more. And then I've got a lot of white in this area here, which needs to be toned down a little bit because that's very, very harsh at the moment. So I'm going to just do the same as I've done with the rest of it, but on the middle bit as well. Okay, so that is a lot more blended, so I'm a lot happier with how that is looking. And then I'm going to get that dark brown again that I'd been using quite a bit, the 176. I'm just going to deepen up some of the folds because the darkest area is going to be in the deepest part of the fold, so I'm just going to deepen those up a little bit more, which kind of will help it look more three-dimensional, just adding some more depth. Just adding tiny fur strokes as I have been using, and just darkening up the very deepest part of the folds. And then just to darken them up really, really slightly more, I'm going to use that dark grey again, the 175, and I'm just going to add a tiny bit of darkness just to the very, very deepest section of the folds, just to add that tiny bit more depth. Not adding very much, just a tiny, tiny amount. Like that. If I zoom out, that's what it's looking like at the moment, so I'm pretty pleased with it so far. And then there are some more folds around this side bit here, so I think I'm going to just work on that now. So I'm getting the 176 that I was using earlier, and here I'm just adding the very lightest amount of brown, because in the reference photo it's these folds here. You can see that very, very faint brown line there, and that side it's not there, but there is there. There's a very, very faint line where there's a really small fold. So I'm just adding in the very smallest amount, just to show that fold is there. Then I'll add some white again in a second, and then there's another little bit here. And then I'll get the white soft pencil again, and I'm going to add in white around this area. Oh, I've definitely made that bit there a little bit too dark. It's fine, I can go over it with the soft white and just soften that up. There we go, and I think that's probably a good time to end this part, just so I don't start on another section, and then perhaps in the next section I'll work on the rest of the face around the nose. Oh. Yeah, so perhaps in the next part I'll work on this kind of bit of the face here. So I've done the top part of the head, and then I'm going to work around the eyes and around the sides probably in the next part. So yeah, please subscribe if you want to see the next part. And give the video a like if you enjoyed it and found it helpful, and hopefully I will see you in the next part. See you later.